We live in a world where the phrase, "thoughts become things," is often dismissed as wishful thinking, a feel-good slogan for dreamers. Yet the deeper we look into psychology, philosophy, and even quantum physics, the more we find that this idea carries profound truth. Our thoughts are not mere mental chatter, floating harmlessly in the privacy of our minds. They are energy, and energy interacts. What you think sets a tone, sends a signal, and begins a dialogue with the very fabric of reality. Quantum physics has already shown us that observation itself plays a role in shaping outcomes. That potential exists in many forms until consciousness engages with it. And just as particles remain mysteriously entangled across distances, our inner world and the outer world appear bound together in ways science is only beginning to glimpse. The boundaries between thought and matter are not as solid as we once believed. This speech is not about mysticism for its own sake. It is about understanding how the hidden mechanics of consciousness, belief, emotion, attention, and choice intertwine with the quantum nature of reality. It is about recognizing that you are not a bystander in life, but a participant in the unfolding of existence. The thoughts you repeat, the feelings you sustain, the intentions you hold, they do not vanish into silence. They reverberate, they entangle, and in time, they crystallize into the experiences you call your life. So as we move forward, I invite you to approach this not as abstract theory, but as a mirror held up to your own experience. Think of the moments when coincidence seemed too precise, when intention seemed to shape outcome, when your mindset altered everything around you. These are not accidents. They are glimpses into the truth we will explore together. That thoughts, when aligned with emotion and intention, become things. And that through this entanglement of mind and reality, you have far more power to shape your world than you may realize. To understand that thoughts become things is powerful. To understand that they become things whether you guide them or not is transformative. Because the truth is, you are always creating. Through beliefs you may not even know you carry. Through emotions you haven't yet questioned. Through expectations you've absorbed from culture, family, and experience. The universe responds regardless of your awareness. But once you recognize this, you face a choice. Will you continue to create unconsciously, letting old patterns recycle themselves into your future? Or will you step forward as a deliberate co-creator, shaping reality with intention and clarity? Living as a deliberate co-creator is not about controlling every event or bending reality to your will. Life still unfolds with mystery, unpredictability, and challenge. But it is about recognizing that within the entangled fabric of existence, your consciousness matters. Your thoughts are instructions. Your emotions are frequencies. Your choices are commands. When you bring them into alignment, you create coherence, and reality responds with synchronicity, opportunity, and growth. This is not just philosophy, it is observable in daily life. Think of people who carry an inner certainty, a calm conviction about where they are headed. The world seems to organize itself around them. Doors open. Allies appear. Coincidences align in their favor. Contrast this with those who move through life without clarity, uncertain of their worth, doubtful of possibility. For them, opportunities seem invisible, challenges multiply, and life feels like resistance. The difference is not luck, it is alignment. It is the difference between broadcasting a signal with strength and coherence versus scattering weak frequencies in every direction. The practice of living as a co-creator begins with awareness. You cannot direct what you do not first observe. Notice the patterns of thought that shape your inner world. Notice the emotions you dwell in, not just occasionally, but habitually. Notice the expectations that quietly inform how you meet the world. These are not private. They are the architecture of your experience. And then comes the second step: intention. Begin to choose with clarity. Feed the thoughts that align with the reality you wish to live. Nurture emotions that amplify growth and connection. Set intentions that carry meaning, rather than drifting in reaction to whatever arises. There will always be those who dismiss this way of living, who insist that thoughts are just thoughts, and the world is indifferent. But history belongs to those who saw differently, who dared to imagine possibility before it was visible, who lived as if the future they envisioned already existed in seed form. To live as a co-creator is to accept that what you focus on, feel deeply, and act upon is not wasted. It is shaping tomorrow. And yes, this path requires discipline. It requires you to take responsibility for what you allow to dominate your consciousness. Complaining, resentment, and fear are not just moods. They are creative acts, feeding realities you may not want. Gratitude, vision, and courage are not just ideals. They are practical tools for directing the energy of your mind. The choice is not whether you create, but what you create. This, then, is the invitation of conscious living. To stop being a passenger in your own life, and to begin steering, not with rigid control, but with awareness, intention, and trust in the entangled field that connects you to possibility. You do not have to know every step ahead. You only have to align your inner world with the direction you wish to go, and reality will meet you with echoes, with opportunities, with confirmations that you are in dialogue with something larger than yourself. So let me leave you with this final thought. You are not waiting for reality to hand you meaning, success, or fulfillment. You are already shaping it, moment by moment, with every belief you carry, every emotion you sustain, every choice you make. To live as a deliberate co-creator is simply to awaken to this truth and to act accordingly. The universe is already listening. The only question left is, what will you choose to say? We often underestimate the weight of thought because it feels invisible, intangible, like a whisper inside the mind that dissolves the moment it arises. But invisibility does not mean insignificance. The air you breathe is invisible, yet it sustains life. Gravity is unseen, yet it shapes the cosmos. Thought belongs to this same category of unseen forces that exert a profound influence on reality. It may not be captured in a jar or weighed on a scale, but it is energy nonetheless. Energy that carries frequency, direction, and power. Modern neuroscience confirms that each thought is accompanied by electrical activity in the brain, measurable impulses that travel across neural networks. Every time you think, neurons fire, patterns emerge, and those patterns ripple through your nervous system, influencing hormones, emotions, and behavior. But thought does not stop at the edge of your skin. The electromagnetic fields generated by the brain and heart extend outward, interacting with the environment in subtle but undeniable ways. In other words, your inner activity is not sealed away in private chambers. It radiates. Philosophers have long intuited this. The Stoics taught that our inner judgments color the world we perceive. Eastern traditions spoke of mind as a creative force, shaping karma and weaving destiny. And now physics adds its voice, reminding us that reality at the quantum level is not solid and fixed, but fluid and responsive, sensitive to the presence of consciousness. It is not far-fetched, then, to suggest that thought is not merely reflective but generative, that it participates in the unfolding of events. If you consider thought as energy, the implications are profound. Every thought is like a signal broadcast into the field of possibility. A thought repeated becomes a pattern becomes a program becomes the architecture of your reality. Most people, unaware of this, allow random thoughts, many of them negative, repetitive, or borrowed from others, to loop endlessly, shaping experiences they never consciously chose. In this way, the world does not so much happen to us as it happens through us, filtered and directed by the energy of our thought. You may have noticed this in your own life. When you wake in the morning already anxious, already expecting difficulty, the day seems to confirm your suspicion at every turn. Challenges multiply, frustrations grow, and by nightfall your inner state has written itself into the script of your day. Contrast this with the mornings, when you rise with clarity, gratitude, or excitement. Suddenly the same world seems more open, kinder, more fluid. It is not that reality has objectively changed. It is that your energy has shifted, and the field around you responds in kind. This is why awareness of thought is so critical. To ignore it is to let unconscious patterns write your future. To recognize it is to regain authorship of your life. When you see thought as energy, you no longer dismiss it as idle chatter. You recognize it as instruction. You realize that every repeated worry is an investment in fear. Every repeated vision is an investment in hope, and that both are shaping probabilities that will, in time, manifest as tangible outcomes. The task, then, is not to silence thought. That would be impossible. It is to refine it, to align it, to choose it with care. Just as you would not casually pour toxins into your body or scatter waste into your home, you must begin to treat thought with the same reverence, recognizing that it nourishes or poisons the field in which your life takes form. To think is to create. To think with intention is to create with power. And so I leave you with this reflection: your thoughts are not passengers drifting quietly in the mind. They are architects, builders, and messengers, shaping the unseen before it becomes the seen. If you accept that thought is energy, then every moment becomes a chance to design, to direct, to create. The real question is not whether your thoughts will shape reality. They already do. The real question is, are they shaping the reality you desire? If thought is energy, then the next question is, how does this energy interact with the physical world? For centuries, the dominant assumption was that mind and matter are entirely separate domains, one belonging to subjective experience, the other to objective reality. But the discoveries of quantum mechanics challenge that neat division. At the smallest scales of existence, we encounter phenomena that behave less like rigid objects and more like probabilities, waves, and possibilities waiting to be actualized. And intriguingly, the act of observation itself seems to tip the scales, collapsing uncertainty into reality. This strange quality suggests that consciousness is not a detached observer of reality, but an active participant in it. In other words, the universe doesn't simply exist out there, indifferent to our awareness. It is, at some level, entangled with the very presence of our mind. The famous experiments with entangled particles reveal that what happens to one instantly affects the other, regardless of distance. And while physics may describe this entanglement mathematically, its philosophical implications are staggering. If matter itself exists in a web of interconnection, then it is not unreasonable to consider that thought, as energy, is also woven into this tapestry of influence. Think about how often your inner world and outer world appear to mirror one another. A person who lives in constant suspicion often seems to encounter betrayal. Someone who radiates trust and openness draws allies and opportunities. These are not coincidences. They are reflections of entanglement. The energy of your mind doesn't merely stay locked inside your skull. It resonates outward, shaping the kinds of experiences that meet you. You could say that your consciousness acts like a tuning fork, and reality echoes back at the same frequency. Philosophy has long hinted at this truth. Idealists argued that reality is, at its core, mental. Mystics across traditions spoke of unity, that the division between inner and outer is an illusion, that the self and the universe are interwoven threads of the same fabric. Quantum entanglement gives us a scientific metaphor for this age-old insight. When we acknowledge that matter itself does not behave like fixed, separate units, but as part of a seamless field, we begin to see how thought and reality might be two expressions of the same continuum. This is not to say that, if you think of an apple, one immediately materializes in your hand. The relationship between thought and matter is more nuanced than instant magic tricks. But the deeper principle is that thought plants a seed in the quantum field. It sets probabilities in motion. Sustained thought, amplified by emotion and belief, gives that seed structure and momentum until it becomes visible in the physical domain. Reality is not static. It is responsive, and you are in dialogue with it whether you realize it or not. The practical takeaway is immense. Your mindset is not just coloring your perception of the world. It is co-authoring it. To think of yourself as powerless, separate from the unfolding of events, is to misunderstand the very fabric of reality. You are entangled with it. Your inner world and outer world are not two disconnected stories. They are one story told in two languages. One in thought, one in form. So let this idea settle deeply. Every thought is a thread, and those threads do not vanish. They weave themselves into the fabric of reality. The question is not whether you are entangled with life. You already are. The question is, what kind of entanglement are you creating? One of the most striking discoveries in quantum physics is the observer effect. The realization that particles exist in states of probability until they are observed, and that the very act of observation influences the outcome. At first glance, this may sound like a technical detail relevant only to scientists. But if you pause and reflect, it carries profound implications for how you and I live our lives. It suggests that consciousness is not a passive witness to events, but an active participant in shaping them. In everyday terms, this means that what you focus on matters. Your attention is not a neutral spotlight that merely reveals what already exists. It is a force that helps crystallize what becomes real for you. Just as a particle's behavior shifts under observation, so too do the circumstances of your life respond to the quality and direction of your awareness. You may have noticed this in the way problems seem to expand the more you dwell on them. A small worry, when fed with constant attention, grows into an all-consuming reality. Conversely, when you turn your focus toward solutions, even in small ways, possibilities begin to emerge that were invisible before. This is the observer effect in human terms. You collapse probabilities into outcomes through the focus of your mind. Philosophically, this reframes choice. Many people believe they are free only in the actions they take, but freedom begins earlier. At the level of attention, where you place your awareness is itself a choice, and it is perhaps the most powerful one you make each day. Because the mind cannot observe everything at once, it selectively highlights certain aspects of reality. And what you highlight, you empower. Psychology echoes this principle in the concept of selective attention. Two people can walk through the same city street, but one notices danger, decay, and hostility while the other perceives beauty, opportunity, and connection. Both are correct in their own way, yet the world each inhabits feels entirely different. This is not just perception, it is creation. What you choose to observe informs your emotional state, your decisions, and ultimately, the trajectory of your life. When we understand the observer effect on a personal level, it becomes clear that our responsibility is immense. Every moment of focus is a vote for the reality we wish to inhabit. If you fixate on scarcity, you amplify it. If you dwell on gratitude, you invite more reasons to be grateful. The external world does not operate in isolation from your awareness. It bends in subtle ways to match the lens through which you view it. This is why mindfulness, visualization, and intention setting are not mere self-help practices. They are applications of a deeper truth about consciousness. By choosing what to observe and how to observe it, you are actively sculpting reality. Your focus is like a chisel, carving possibilities into form. And yet, the observer effect does not mean you can control every detail of life. Reality still retains its unpredictability, its mystery. But within that mystery, you are far from powerless. You are an agent, co-authoring the script. The quality of your attention is not trivial. It is creative. So I leave you with this reminder. Every time you choose where to place your focus, you are not just watching life unfold. You are participating in its unfolding. Observation is creation. Attention is power. The world is not simply happening to you. It is happening through you, in response to the choices of your awareness. The question you must carry forward is this: what are you choosing to see? And in choosing it, what reality are you bringing into being? If attention is the chisel that sculpts reality, then belief is the blueprint that guides its form. Belief is more than a thought you repeat. It is a conviction, a deep inner agreement that shapes the way you see the world, and, in turn, how the world responds to you. Where thoughts flicker like sparks, beliefs burn like steady flames, setting the tone for the experiences you draw toward yourself. Consider how powerful belief is in the human story. History is filled with examples of individuals who accomplished the impossible, not because circumstances favored them, but because they held an unshakable conviction in their vision. From inventors to explorers, from leaders to healers, the common denominator is not external advantage, but inner certainty. Belief focuses thought, amplifies emotion, and fuels action, creating a coherence that reality mirrors back. Psychology has a term for this: the self-fulfilling prophecy. When you believe something strongly enough, your mind begins to filter evidence to support it. Your attention seeks out confirmation, your emotions align with expectation, and your actions subtly shift in ways that bring the belief to life. If you believe people cannot be trusted, you'll notice every sign of betrayal and overlook every act of kindness. If you believe you are worthy of success, opportunities that others dismiss suddenly catch your attention. In both cases, your belief sculpts your reality. But let's look deeper. At the quantum level, particles exist in states of potential until observed. Similarly, your life contains countless potentials, paths you could walk, versions of yourself you could become. Belief acts as the lens that selects which potentials become visible to you. It is not that the other possibilities disappear. It's that belief tunes your consciousness to a certain frequency, making one path real and others invisible. In this sense, belief is not just a psychological trick. It is a creative force entangled with the fabric of reality itself. This is why limiting beliefs are so powerful and so dangerous. When you carry an unexamined belief like, "I'm not good enough," or "things never work out for me," you are not just describing reality, you are prescribing it. You are issuing a command into the field, a script for life to follow. And life, ever responsive, reflects it back with precision. The tragedy is that most people inherit these beliefs unconsciously from parents, culture, or past failures, never realizing that they are shaping the architecture of their future with blueprints they did not choose. The invitation, then, is to question and to choose. To step back and ask, what do I believe about myself, about the world, about what is possible? Do those beliefs expand me or confine me? Do they align with the reality I want to live? Or do they anchor me in a reality I long to escape? To live as a deliberate creator means not only observing your thoughts, but interrogating your beliefs, reshaping them where necessary, and planting new ones where the soil is ready. And here's the empowering truth: belief can be trained. Just as repetition turns thought into habit, it can also turn possibility into conviction. Visualization, affirmation, and lived experience can work together to rewire belief, creating a new internal blueprint. And once belief shifts, reality follows. It is not always instantaneous, but it is inevitable, because the field responds to the coherence of your conviction. So, let me leave you with this: belief is not something passive, something you are doomed to carry unexamined for life. It is a choice, a creative act. Every belief you hold is either a doorway or a prison. And the moment you realize this, you gain the power to choose which it will be. The world is already listening to your convictions. The only question is, what reality are your beliefs commanding into being? If thought is the spark and belief is the blueprint, then emotion is the current that gives both their true power. Without emotion, a thought remains a faint signal, weak and scattered, like static on a radio. But when thought is charged with emotion, it takes on frequency, intensity, and resonance. It becomes alive, capable of influencing not only your inner state, but the outer reality that responds to it. Science already points us in this direction. Emotions are not vague feelings drifting somewhere in the psyche. They are measurable, energetic states. When you feel joy, gratitude, or love, your body emits a coherent electromagnetic field that can be detected several feet beyond your skin. When you feel fear, anger, or despair, the field becomes chaotic and unstable. Your emotional state is not locked inside you. It radiates outward, and this radiation interacts with the field of life itself. Philosophically, emotion is the bridge between mind and matter. A belief may sit quietly in the background of your consciousness, but when it is infused with emotion, it begins to move reality. Belief plus emotion becomes conviction, and conviction is what reshapes your choices, behaviors, and perceptions. More importantly, it sends a strong signal into the field, a frequency that entangles with the patterns of reality. You could say that emotion determines the strength of the broadcast your mind is sending. This is why two people can hold similar beliefs, but live entirely different lives. One person says, "I believe in abundance," but carries fear and scarcity in their emotional core. The other holds the same belief, but with deep gratitude and confidence. Both think the same thought, yet one vibrates scarcity, the other abundance, and reality reflects each accordingly. The universe does not respond merely to the words you repeat in your head. It responds to the frequency you consistently radiate through emotion. From a psychological standpoint, emotion is also the fuel that sustains thought. You may try to think positively for a few moments, but if your emotional state contradicts it, the thought has little momentum. On the other hand, when emotion supports thought, it becomes magnetic. That is why gratitude practices, for example, are so powerful. They do not just change your intellectual perspective, they shift your emotional vibration, aligning you with coherence, openness, and receptivity. Think of times in your own life when your emotions seemed to shape events. When you carried joy into a room, you noticed how others responded more warmly. When you walked in with resentment or worry, the atmosphere soared. These are not just social dynamics. They are reminders of how your inner frequency interacts with the field around you. The world mirrors back what you radiate, not what you silently wish for, but what you consistently feel. This is why mastering emotion is not about suppression or denial. To pretend you feel joy when you do not is self-deception, and deception weakens coherence. Instead, mastery is about awareness, regulation, and alignment. It is about recognizing when you are vibrating at fear or anger and choosing to shift toward gratitude, love, or trust. Not by force, but by cultivating practices that lift you. Breathing, mindfulness, visualization, service to others. These are not cliches but tools for recalibrating your frequency. And here lies the empowering truth. You are not at the mercy of your emotions. You are the steward of them. You have the capacity to shift frequency, and when you do, reality shifts with you. Emotion is not a private storm to be endured. It is a creative signal to be harnessed. So I leave you with this. The energy you carry is not invisible to the universe. It is the frequency you broadcast into the field of possibility, and life responds in kind. If you want to know what future you are creating, ask yourself, what am I feeling most often, and is that the frequency I want to see reflected in my world? If thought is energy, belief the blueprint, and emotion the frequency, then intention is the directive force that gives them all direction. Intention is the act of choosing, of saying to the universe, this is where I am going. This is what I am aligning with. Without intention, thought and emotion scatter like seeds thrown into the wind. Some may take root, but many drift without purpose. With intention, the same seeds are planted in fertile ground, cultivated, and given the chance to grow into form. Intention is not the same as vague wishing. Wishing comes from lack. It says, I hope something outside of me rescues me. Intention comes from alignment. It declares, I am participating in the unfolding of this reality. The difference may sound subtle, but energetically it is profound. Wishing is passive. Intention is active. Wishing drifts, intention directs. Science again provides us a metaphor. A laser beam is simply light, but focused light. When photons move in coherence, aligned in the same direction, the result is a laser powerful enough to cut through steel. Intention is this coherence applied to consciousness. It takes scattered energy and directs it with precision. It organizes thought, belief, and emotion into a single point of focus, and in that alignment, it amplifies the power of creation. Philosophers and spiritual teachers across traditions have recognized this. In Buddhism, intention is one of the foundations of the Eightfold Path, a recognition that what you set your mind upon shapes not only your actions, but the very quality of your reality. In modern psychology, goal setting and visualization function in much the same way, not because the mind magically bends reality, but because intention creates coherence. It aligns your inner world in such a way that reality itself begins to organize around it. Think about your own life. Recall a time when you set a clear intention, perhaps to pursue a goal, to change a habit, or to embody a new way of being. Suddenly, opportunities that had always been present but unnoticed seemed to appear. Synchronicities emerged. The right people, resources, and circumstances showed up with uncanny timing. This is not coincidence. It is the resonance of intention interacting with the field of possibility. By declaring a direction, you activated a dialogue with reality, and reality responded. The danger, however, lies in unconscious intention. Most people are not setting intentions deliberately. They are reinforcing them unconsciously. To walk around thinking, "I'll never succeed," or "life is against me," is an intention, even if unspoken. And because the field responds to coherence, life begins to align with that negative declaration. This is why becoming aware of your intentions, both the ones you consciously set and the ones you unconsciously radiate, is so crucial. The power of intention also lies in its simplicity. It does not require grand rituals or endless affirmations. It requires clarity and sincerity. To set an intention is to send a clear signal, one that carries more weight than scattered desires. It is a conscious declaration of alignment, a commitment to participate in the shaping of reality, rather than drifting through it. And here is the paradox. The strongest intentions are not born of desperation or grasping. They arise from calm certainty, from a sense of inner coherence. They are not about forcing the universe, but about aligning with it. They act as a compass rather than a cage, pointing you toward the future you are calling into being, while leaving space for the mystery of how it unfolds. So let this truth settle within you. Intention is the steering wheel of consciousness. Without it, you drift wherever old patterns carry you. With it, you direct your energy toward creation, rather than reaction. Every moment is an opportunity to set an intention, to declare your alignment, and to send a signal into the field of life. The only question is, are your intentions conscious? And are they leading you toward the reality you truly desire? When you begin living with intention, something fascinating often starts to happen. You notice coincidences that feel too precise to be random. You think of someone you haven't spoken to in years, and suddenly they call. You set a goal, and within days, an unexpected opportunity aligned with it appears. You find yourself in the right place at the right time, as if the universe is conspiring to move pieces on your behalf. We call these moments synchronicities, and far from being trivial curiosities, they are feedback, indicators that your inner world and outer world are moving into resonance. Synchronicity is the language of alignment. It shows you that the frequency you are broadcasting through thought, belief, emotion, and intention is being echoed back by reality, just as a tuning fork vibrates in harmony with another tune to the same pitch. Your consciousness, when coherent, resonates with experiences of the same frequency. These moments feel magical because they remind us that life is not a series of random, disconnected events, but an entangled field where meaning threads itself through time and circumstance. Psychology has its own way of approaching this. Carl Jung, who first gave us the term synchronicity, described it as meaningful coincidence. Events linked not by cause and effect, but by significance. To him, synchronicity revealed that psyche and matter were not separate, but two sides of the same reality. And quantum entanglement gives us a metaphor for how such connections could exist. Just as two particles can remain mysteriously linked across distance, so too can mind and matter reveal themselves as facets of the same underlying unity. Think of synchronicity as feedback from the field of life. Just as a compass needle shifts to show you where north lies, synchronicities indicate that you are moving in alignment with your inner blueprint. They are the universe's way of saying, Yes, this is the path. Or, when absent, they may indicate dissonance, a lack of coherence between your thoughts, emotions, and intentions. The presence or absence of synchronicity can be read as information, guiding you to adjust your inner state. But here is where depth matters. Synchronicity is not a party trick, a way to predict lottery numbers or control outcomes with precision. It is subtler, more profound. It is about noticing the dialogue between self and reality, recognizing that life responds not only to what you do, but to what you are. The more coherent your inner world, the more frequent and meaningful these synchronicities become, as if the fabric of reality itself begins to conspire with you. This is why awareness is crucial. Many people experience synchronicity, but dismiss it as coincidence, failing to recognize the feedback being offered. But when you live with heightened attention, you begin to see patterns and meanings that others overlook. These are not delusions of pattern, but glimpses of entanglement, reminders that your life is not isolated, but interwoven with a larger whole. The practical value of synchronicity is this: it reassures you that you are not wandering aimlessly. It encourages you to trust the process, to continue aligning thought, belief, emotion, and intention, knowing that the universe provides echoes of confirmation. And it keeps you humble, reminding you that while you co-create reality, you do not control it entirely. The mystery still operates, and synchronicity is its whisper. So pay attention to the moments when life feels as though it is winking at you, when meaning arrives unannounced. Do not dismiss them. Recognize them as signals, as feedback that your energy and the field are resonating. These moments are invitations to continue on the path of coherence, to deepen your trust in the entanglement of mind and matter. And let me leave you with this reflection. Synchronicity is not life giving you what you want, it is life reflecting what you are. When you encounter it, see it as proof that thoughts do become things, not abstractly, but concretely, woven into the fabric of your everyday reality. The question is, are you tuned to notice, and will you trust what it's showing you? Up to this point, we've explored thoughts, beliefs, emotions, intention, and the feedback of synchronicity. But beneath all of these lies a deeper force, one that operates largely in the shadows, yet exerts extraordinary influence over what we experience. That force is the subconscious mind. If your conscious mind is the captain that declares direction, your subconscious is the crew that actually sails the ship. And like any ship, if the crew resists or misunderstands the captain's orders, the voyage is delayed, rerouted, or sometimes sabotaged. The subconscious is not a mystical concept. It is the repository of your habits, memories, conditioning, and automatic responses. Psychologists estimate that over 90% of your daily thoughts, behaviors, and perceptions flow from subconscious patterns. This means that while you may consciously intend abundance, love, or success, if your subconscious holds deep, rooted beliefs of scarcity, fear, or unworthiness, your frequency is fractured. You are broadcasting two signals at once, and reality responds with confusion. Think of the subconscious as a quantum field of its own, silent, unseen, but ever active. It is not concerned with what is true or false, only with what is repeated and emotionally charged. Every time you rehearse a thought, especially one tied to strong emotion, you impress it deeper into the subconscious. Over time, these imprints become your default frequency. They operate automatically, generating the feedback loop of your reality, even without your awareness. This explains why so many people feel stuck despite affirmations, vision boards, or surface-level practices. The conscious mind may declare one thing, but the subconscious, shaped by years of repetition and unresolved emotion, declares another, and the field always responds to the stronger signal. The subconscious is that signal. Philosophically, this is profound. It means that freedom is not simply about choosing new thoughts in the moment. It is about reprogramming the deeper patterns that shape your frequency day after day. It is about bringing the unseen into awareness, questioning the narratives you absorbed in childhood, culture, and experience. Were you taught that life is a struggle? That love must be earned. That success comes only with sacrifice. These beliefs, once planted, may still be running quietly in the background, directing your reality even when you consciously disagree. But here lies the good news. The subconscious is not a prison. It is programmable. Just as repetition and emotion created its patterns, repetition and emotion can rewire them. Practices like meditation, hypnosis, visualization, and affirmations are not magical in themselves. They are tools for bypassing the conscious gatekeeper and planting new seeds in the fertile soil of the subconscious. Emotional experiences of gratitude, forgiveness, and self-worth are especially powerful because the subconscious imprints what is felt most deeply. Even synchronicities play a role here. When you notice patterns in reality that affirm new beliefs, the subconscious absorbs them as evidence, reinforcing the shift. Over time, what once felt foreign becomes natural, automatic, embodied. The subconscious begins to align with the conscious intention, and coherence is born. That coherence radiates into the field, and reality responds in kind. Consider this: the subconscious never rests. It is always broadcasting, always entangled with the reality around you. If you neglect it, it will default to old programs. If you cultivate it, it becomes your greatest ally in creation. The choice, then, is not whether the subconscious will shape your reality. It already does. But whether you will shape the subconscious. So I leave you with this. True transformation happens not when you briefly think a new thought, but when that thought becomes the language of your subconscious, pulsing through your frequency day and night. When that happens, reality has no choice but to reflect it. The question is, will you take responsibility for reprogramming the unseen patterns that are already entangled with your world? Up until now, much of our focus has been on the individual, the thoughts you think, the beliefs you hold, the emotions you generate, and the subconscious programs you carry. But here's where the picture widens. You are not an isolated mind floating in a vacuum. You are part of a collective field, a shared consciousness in which individual signals merge, overlap, and amplify. Just as countless drops of water form the ocean, countless minds contribute to the energetic environment we all live within. Quantum entanglement reminds us that separation is not as absolute as it appears. If particles can remain connected across distance, then perhaps minds, too, are not fully independent, but entangled at levels deeper than we perceive. This means that the thoughts and emotions of individuals contribute to the resonance of the whole. When enough people hold similar beliefs or feelings, that collective resonance can shape cultural narratives, social realities, even the trajectory of history. We see this clearly in mass psychology. When fear spreads, entire societies act in ways that reinforce that fear. Markets crash, conflicts erupt, scarcity deepens, not only because of material conditions, but because of the collective resonance of anxiety. Conversely, when hope, innovation, and cooperation take hold, breakthroughs emerge, economies flourish, and progress accelerates. What is this, if not evidence that individual states of consciousness, when amplified through the collective, manifest tangible outcomes in the shared world. The subconscious mind we discussed earlier doesn't just exist on an individual level. It exists collectively too. Generations pass down stories, myths, and patterns that continue shaping group realities long after their origins are forgotten. If you grow up in a culture that sees the world as hostile, that collective imprint colors your perception, even before your personal experiences confirm it. This is why true transformation is not only personal, it is also cultural. Each of us participates in rewriting the programs of the collective subconscious through the thoughts, emotions, and intentions we contribute to the shared field. Consider moments in history when collective consciousness shifted dramatically. The civil rights movement, the fall of oppressive regimes, the birth of revolutionary technologies, all were preceded by shifts in what people collectively believed was possible. At first, the old reality resisted. But as more individuals began thinking differently, resonating with new possibilities, the tipping point was reached, and reality itself restructured. It is the same principle of entanglement and resonance, scaled from the individual to the collective. This is why personal work is never only personal. Every time you transform a limiting belief, every time you replace fear with trust, every time you align intention with coherence, you contribute to the collective field. You become one more point of resonance amplifying a new pattern. And as more individuals do this, the collective begins to shift. This is not poetic idealism. It is the mathematics of resonance. A tuning fork struck in one place can set others vibrating at the same frequency. Consciousness works the same way. But here lies the responsibility. If thoughts become things, then collective thoughts become worlds. The wars we fight, the systems we live under, the ecological crises we face. These are not just political or technological problems. They are symptoms of collective states of consciousness, shaped by fear, greed, and disconnection. Changing them requires not only external action, but also an evolution in the shared field of thought and belief. And so the question becomes, what are you contributing to the collective field? Every thought, every emotion, every intention you hold ripples outward, entangled with the reality we all inhabit. Your transformation is not isolated. It is participation in the transformation of humanity itself. Let me leave you with this. The world you see is not fixed, but a reflection of collective consciousness in motion. To change the world is to change the field, and to change the field begins with the signal you emit every day. The collective is entangled with you, and you with it. The choice, then, is simple. Will your contribution amplify fear, or will it amplify possibility? Everything we have explored so far, thought, belief, emotion, intention, synchronicity, the subconscious, and even collective consciousness, leads us to this final realization. You are not a passive observer in this universe, but an active participant. To live as a conscious co-creator is to recognize that your thoughts are not whispers into the void, but signals entangled with the field of reality itself. The energy you emit becomes the architecture of your experience. The key word here is conscious. All of us are creating all the time, whether we realize it or not. Our subconscious patterns, our fears, our doubts, our desires, these are constantly radiating into the field, shaping outcomes. But to live unconsciously is to leave creation on autopilot, letting old programming dictate your reality. Conscious co-creation, by contrast, is about taking responsibility. It means choosing thoughts intentionally, cultivating emotions deliberately, and aligning belief with the reality you wish to bring forth. This does not mean forcing outcomes or micromanaging the details of life. True co-creation is less about control and more about coherence. It is about becoming so aligned within yourself, thought, belief, emotion, and intention resonating as one, that your frequency naturally harmonizes with experiences that match it. The outer world reflects the inner order. Life begins to feel less like a struggle against chaos and more like a dance with possibility. Living as a conscious co-creator also requires humility. It means recognizing that you do not operate alone. You are entangled with the collective, and you are entangled with the mystery itself, the vast intelligence underlying the fabric of reality. When you set an intention, when you cultivate belief, you are not bending the universe to your will. You are aligning yourself with its deeper currents. Co-creation, then, is partnership. It is a collaboration between your consciousness and the greater field of possibility. Philosophically, this reframes existence. You are neither a powerless pawn nor an omnipotent master. You are something far more meaningful, a collaborator in the unfolding of reality. Your choices matter, but so does your surrender. Your effort matters, but so does your trust. Living this way dissolves the false separation between inner and outer, self and world. It reveals that life is not happening to you. It is happening with you. Practically, this calls for a daily discipline of awareness. Begin noticing the quality of your thoughts, because they are not private, they are seeds. Pay attention to the emotions you rehearse, because they are not harmless. They are frequencies. Question the beliefs you inherited, because they are not fixed. They are programs shaping your world. And most importantly, bring intention to every action, because intention is the bridge between thought and manifestation. This is how you live not as a bystander, but as a co-creator. Imagine the difference if more people lived this way. If each of us took responsibility for the signals we emit, for the coherence we cultivate, for the contribution we make to the collective field. The world we share would begin to shift, not from the top down, but from the inside out. And this is the essence of the entanglement connection. Reality is not separate from you. It is responsive to you. So let me leave you with this. To live as a conscious co-creator is to step into the truth that thoughts become things, not metaphorically, but materially, experientially, profoundly. You are always entangled with the field, always shaping and being shaped. The only question that remains is this: will you live unconsciously, repeating old patterns, or will you live consciously, aligning thought, belief, and intention to co-create a reality worthy of who you truly are? We began with a simple but radical idea that thoughts are not passive, fleeting sparks of the mind, but forces entangled with the fabric of reality itself. Along the way, we explored how belief sets the tone for experience, how emotion gives thoughts their resonance, how intention directs the flow of energy, and how synchronicities reveal the feedback of alignment. We uncovered the power of the subconscious, the influence of collective consciousness, and finally, the responsibility that comes with living as a conscious co-creator. And now, as we stand at the end of this journey, the truth is undeniable. You are not merely moving through reality. You are in dialogue with it. Every thought you hold, every belief you sustain, every emotion you embody sends ripples into the field. Reality listens, responds, and reflects. Life is not an accident. It is an entangled exchange. This understanding is not meant to inspire magical thinking, but conscious living. It is not about controlling every outcome, but about aligning yourself with coherence so deeply that your inner state naturally gives rise to the experiences you desire. It is about realizing that you are both a participant in and a contributor to the collective reality we all share. And with that realization comes responsibility. The future, both personal and collective, is not written in stone. It is being written in every moment, through the frequencies we sustain. If thoughts become things, then what you think matters. If consciousness shapes reality, then who you choose to be matters. The life you long for, the world we hope for, they are not separate from us. They are entangled with us, waiting for us to align with them. So I invite you to leave here with more than inspiration. Leave with awareness. Leave with the willingness to examine your thoughts, to refine your beliefs, to cultivate your emotions, to set your intentions, and to contribute consciously to the field we share. In doing so, you become not just a dreamer of possibilities, but an architect of reality.